Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Poetry Foundation's virtual open door reading for February. My name is Alex, and I am the Building and Events Manager here at the Poetry Foundation. I use he, him pronouns, and as a visual description, I am a white cis man with blonde hair that has a lot of roots growing out right now, and black glasses, and I'm sitting in front of some bookshelves that have filled up over the course of the last couple years. The Open Door series presents work from new and emerging poets and highlights writing instruction and poetic partnerships. Each event features readings by 2 Midwest writers and 2 of their current or recent students or writing partners. Tonight, we are so excited to hear poetry by George Abraham, Fargo Tbakhi, Diamond Forde, and Nabila Lovelace. We would like to begin by recognizing that the Poetry Foundation building is situated on the occupied original homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Ojibwe, Potawatomi, and Odawa nations, among other Indigenous nations. Indigenous people continue to live here today, and Chicago is home to one of the largest urban Indigenous communities in the United States. While we are meeting on a virtual platform, it remains crucial that we recognize the stolen resources and land that enable us to connect tonight. We gather recognizing that some of us are settlers on colonized land, and that this land acknowledgement is one small part of disrupting and dismantling the colonial structures in which we are living. I have a few accessibility notes. To access live captioning, you can click the CC icon at the bottom of the screen. Alternatively, you can view captioning in a separate window, and we will paste that link into the chat for you right now. Additionally, tonight we have 2 ASL interpreters with us who we will pin and spotlight alongside the speakers throughout the event. If you encounter any technical issues and you need support, you can raise your hand and someone from the events team will message you and assist you. This event is being recorded and we will post it on our website at poetryfoundation.org/video for public viewing, but your camera and mic are not being recorded. And last, we invite you to treat this as a relaxed virtual space. Feel free to do whatever you need for your body and mind to be more at ease. If you need to eat a snack or go to the bathroom or call a friend, feel free to step away. Take a second now and make yourself 10% more comfortable. And now let's get things started with our first readers, George Abraham and Fargo Nissim Tbakhi. They will be reading some of their solo works, but also sharing collaborative work from the Eve Project. George Abraham is a Palestinian-American poet, writer, and engineer who was born and raised on unceded Timucuan lands in Jacksonville, Florida. Their debut poetry collection, Birthright from Button Poetry, won an Arab American Book Award and a Big Other Book Award, and was a Lambda Literary Award finalist. He is a board member for the Radius of Arab American Writers and recipient of fellowships from the Arab American National Museum, the Boston Foundation, and Kundiman. They are currently a Leibowitz MFA and MA candidate in poetry at Northwestern University. Fargo Nissim Tbakhi is a queer Palestinian performance artist, a Taurus, and a cool breeze. And you can find more at fargotbakhi.com. And now, George and Fargo, please take it away.
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me okay? Just if we could type in the chat. I am, for visual description, I am a Palestinian American masculine presenting person wearing a pink and black patterned top, sitting in a gray chair with gray wallpaper in the background. I'm gonna open reading from my book Birthright, and this poem is in a form called a palindrome, which means it reads the same forwards and backwards. So I'm going to read it forwards and then backwards. Heritage. Come morning, he won't even remember my name. Come midnight, we'll be washed of his every trace. The blood pooling in moonlight, staining oceans empty of biology's brief mimicry. I said, I love him because he too was born on the wrong side of a wall. Perhaps in funeral quiet, this is the whitest he'll ever be. We thank him for his service behind a makeshift altar. And what if gratitude isn't a thinning bloodline? His head pillowed by flag of blood and star in life. He'd cook for us. He'd never let us leave empty stomached. His brother grips my hand, asks, what are you? Transfixes his eyes on the wounds I bulleted into my own face. All he knows of divinity was once heresy and clipped wing. In truth, had they known of the mouths I spoke a swollen history into, most men in my family would have wanted me dead. And I'd like to think this, its own forgiveness. Into the gardener's hands, both seed and flood water, the expense of every bloom, a season of winded upheaval, because who else could know better this swallow and fang-sunk tongue? Because they tasted their own pooling blood. I like to think my ancestors couldn't imagine me unwritten from their gospel. The ghosts that wear my name, not the exiles of another heaven, inherited because we too lost our countries before we lost our bodies. Every man I've held with pen was once capable of breaking me. We were never meant to survive this mythos. Forgive me. I'm running from this poem into another boy's arms, like we were never meant to survive this mythos. Every man I've held with palm was once capable of breaking me because we lost our countries before we lost our bodies. Not the exiles of another heaven inherited me from unwritten gospel, the ghosts that wear my name pooling blood. I'd like to think my ancestors couldn't imagine this fang-sunk tongue because they've tasted their own, because who else could know better this swallow, the expense of every bloom, a season of winded upheaval into the gardener's hands, both seed and flood water, and this death, I'd like to think, is its own forgiveness, its own history. Most men like him would have wanted a family in me, in truth, had they not known of the mouths I swelled into. All we know of heresy was once divinity's unclipped wing. He transfixes his eyes on the wounds I bulleted into my own face. He grips my hand, asks, what are you wanting? He cooked for me after. He'd never let me leave empty stomached, my head pillowed by stars of no flag in life. What if gratitude isn't a thinning bloodline? I thanked and serviced him behind our makeshift altar in funeral quiet. Perhaps this is the whitest I'll ever be, although he too was born on the wrong side of a wall, empty of biology's brief mimicry. I couldn't have said, I love you. Our blood pooling in moonlight, staining oceans. Come midnight, I'll wash myself of his every trace. Come morning, I won't even remember his name. Thank you all. This next poem is also from the book Birthright, and it is in a form that I invented called a Markov sonnet. And essentially what it is a disembodied sonnet. It is a sonnet where every 3 lines, the form forgets itself and erases itself and restarts. It makes a little bit more sense hearing it out loud. So I'll go ahead and start. It was also written in response to an Israeli settler violent attack on a unnamed village near Halhul, which is near Hebron or Al-Khalil in the West Bank, wherein the Israeli settlers came to a vineyard and attacked it with a chainsaw, desecrating all of the leaves and spray painting "We will reach everywhere" onto the main building. Ekphrasis with toothing chainsaw in unnamed Halhul vineyard. The warak, empty of chlorophyll, hung chewed and dangling because there was no witness amidst the yellowing foliage. The toothing beast's rapture, heavy in the air like a song, because there was no witness amidst the yellowing foliage. The toothing beast's rapture, heavy in the air like a song unfamiliar to soil-worn hands, harvesting small implosions. The toothing beast's rapture, heavy in the air like a song unfamiliar to soil-worn hands. Harvesting small implosions, a marble heaven built over hill and tomb reaches everywhere. Unfamiliar to soil-worn hands, harvesting small implosions, a marble heaven built over hill and tomb reaches everywhere. The unyellowed, muting wind can neither stain nor uproot. A marble heaven built over hill and tomb reaches everywhere. The unyellowed, muting wind can neither stain nor uproot a land ungodded. The dead's hollow, hallowed, roaring. The unyellowed, muting wind can neither stain nor uproot a land ungodded. The dead's hollow, hallowed, roaring silence, interrupted by riot of metal teeth and ricochet, a land ungodded. The dead's hollow, hallowed, roaring silence, interrupted by riot of metal teeth and ricochet, a country can only be accountable for the screams. Silence, interrupted by riot of metal teeth and ricochet. A country can only be accountable for the screams we cannot unhear or unwrite from our memory. A country can only be accountable for the screams we cannot unhear or unwrite from our memory, a history unfragmented, free of limbs, disfigured. We cannot unhear or unwrite from our memory, a history unfragmented, free of limbs, disfigured. Would you believe me if I said I bled for this? A history unfragmented, free of limbs, disfigured. Would you believe me if I said I bled for this? Leaves caught in my throat like a contradiction. Would you believe me if I said I bled for this? Leaves caught in my throat like a contradiction. Name, 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 unname, name, 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 unname, name. Leaves caught in my throat like a contradiction. Name, 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 unname. Name, 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 unname, name the warak, empty of chlorophyll, hung, chewed, and dangling. Name, 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 unname, name, 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 unname, name. The warak, empty of chlorophyll, hung, chewed, and dangling, because there was no witness amidst the yellowing foliage. Thank you all. So yeah, those first two were from my book Birthright. We can check it out. I think they're going to be posting links later in the chat. It's available from Button Poetry. So thank you all so much. So this is going to be my last poem before I invite Fargo Tbakhi to the stage with me. And this is another, I guess the theme of this reading is form. I like it. So this one is in another form that I've been experimenting with and inventing. It is a take on a sestina, which I like to call a collapsing sestina, in which the 6 words that are repeated in each stanza at the end of the lines of the sestina are one by one cast out of the poem, or in this poem, thrown out of a window. And so you'll see in a second why I said that. Epigraph. Every window is a writer of fiction. Zaina Al-Sus. Trap your enemies in the poem. Marwa Hilal. Defenestration fantasy. Collapsing Sestina. Today, you will wake in the belly of a beast. Tomorrow, your beloveds will push you out of a window, presuming you survived the gnash and snarl, the roaring consequence. At the center of all that kills you is a hunger tenfolded into gargantuan winter. Let me stop there. Metaphor won't be an enemy, languaged against me, languaged against the next day. Memory will, memoriam, fathered against certainty. You will push those whom you call issue through a window and let them burn into lingering and inevitable metaphors. And though ruptured, they will sing and sing forth the way a window knows no shock but shatter. What you will mistake for a hunger's sleepless will be a half century's waning and blood-thirsting roar, and I know it from my own sleepless, my father's roaring night snarl. How it embeds, implants a rock-torn window in my throat is how I know it as an ancestral hunger. At the end of your and my and all my's suffering is a window into a suffering I cannot witness. Something about the eyes as windows stains the memory, not mine, complicit. And what is metaphor but a mirror mistaken for a window? I will not pretty this. I will the glass roaring with your name, unknowing as a bird into a windowless flight mid-drift and careening. I will the fall windless and swift, the crash and splat, the ground a window, thirsting for light, rarefacted into shimmer, rarefacted into hunger's swell. And there, when the ground swallows you with windowed teeth, you will begin again from beast to song to window. And I will not say your name. And I will not say your name is a window into every poem or father's song unwanted, which roared out of me, despite I will your collapse, hypothesis, anti-window, and the space between that I am neither I nor I, but the window itself, for I to bear in witness your widowed and inevitable. I would become the mirror, the win, the spoils and conquest of, and I will not run as dough into wind, though I will it unfurling, I will, for every self-winding, every insomniac unreflection, did not me I witnessed in every window. This is my spell, and I will it into every midnight, mirror, mirror in the window, hunger against metaphors roaring, window against hunger's roaring metaphor in shatter. It's toothing and nameless. Wake. I would love to invite, Fargo Tbakhi to the stage with me, and we are going to do a piece together, transitioning into Fargo's reading.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much, George. It's always, yeah, it's just the best to hear you read. My name is Fargo Nissim Tbakhi. I'm using he, him pronouns today. As an image description, I have short cropped hair, a beard and mustache. I'm wearing round, clear glasses, and a black leather jacket with gold patches on the shoulders. And behind me is a bookshelf and a few paintings on a wall. Um, let's do it, George.
Alrighty. This is a piece from our recent collaborative project, Eve. Off with their heads, Poetica. Assume we never wanted to own any flowers born of another's fall. See the iris, the poppies, the trillium, but not their beheading in fall.
And assume we always wanted to be flowers, living some violent legacy's song, to wield these broken shards of text and animate a revolution's song.
In a different life, I'd write a well-behaved Sistina, call it gratitude, perhaps an American dream's width, an elegy, but can I be safe in such realisms? Can my dead sing farther than their fall?
I'm tired of forgiveness and the poets it conceives. My desire for rubble exists, and it offers me a way of being whole. Don't ask, just find yourself in the song.
Once I grew a politic. The poets called it bearing teeth, but every door was a window into an officer's enforcer. An exile later, I wished all police and landlords no reflection, but the guillotine's fall.
I'm tired of being a politic absorbed in the slime of nations, never a voice with notes of grace to carry my cousin's body back to soil. And in exile before, I tried to make of hell a heaven song.
And while I'm misbehaving, I'll add all of my enemies to the list. Favorite line break, favorite blade. Milton had to behead a king before I could ever call him daddy. Memory has always been in media res on this side of the fall.
On the other side of fall, we spring. We blossom into poisoned water served in cups we made of bone. Daddy Milton, it's only when we break your text that we can build our anti-map toward song.
Keep up. I don't have time to waste. They gave me a few minutes to take what I could and leave. They called it kindness. That my books of flight included Kenefani, Abu Hawa, Abani, and a beloved's gift was my nightstand's coincidence. I was lucky. Outside, it was fall.
We never had time, so we couldn't waste it. I never had a beloved who wasn't a chasm of meaning away from me, so it's only through these ghosts of stage I make one. Handfuls of clay shaped into a body animated by song.
So lyric, my eye stagnant. Syntax, my PTSD vagrant. Do what you will to my mouth. Call it an Iowa workshop and not decapitation or CIA plant. How many of you will last through that fall?
To make it plain, we're trying to destroy a myth, to yank its choking tendrils out of our honeyed throats. To make it plain, there is still debt. There is still a bulldozer. There is still a chasm of light we bridge with song.
I want my people to be seen here. Can you see? How can thaw feel in your mouth? How do you feel about boycott dive? I want to be seen more than perceived. I want to be shh. Tell the sea we're all returning after the fall.
So we were dying. So we refused to die. So the dying became a paradise we lived inside. We are trying to dodge the cannon, to curve our hips against the word, to find a new heaven and bury it with song.
After the line break turned jugular, after we filled our collective belly with that richening of, after we've accepted the evolution within the upheaval, we won't have a name for that unpretty, but language will re-begin in that fall.
Everything begins with a fall and ends with a beginning. Before the violent polity, before I cried out to the emptiness, wanting a bigger emptiness, this was a shopping mall, now it's all covered in flowers. I love that song.
No sky for blotted suns, no waters to hold the blood set, no return to land that doesn't return us to ourselves unfallen.
No after, no before, no time dismembered into hourly wages, only love, only sorrow. Only make me a sharper kind of melody, no empire of rust, no colony of breath, only the choir that sings the sunbird's song.
Shuffle of my days, guzzle me infinite, sin, whatever sin's survival demands, dear future child, dear inevitable fall.
There was never any other poem. All my lines, a shadowed plenary of want, in the shape of an of, the voice of it screaming, "Oh, Fargo, there's a death inside your mouth. Get free. Start singing."
I promise this is a love poem. I promise more worlds past ours are at stake. In the field, my jeans are arced towards justice. The blades, I promise, with my name.
Wonderful. Thank you, George. It's such an honor to write alongside you, as always. I'll just read a few poems. Of my last obedience to the restraints of the language of bone breakers, to the tyranny inside the gloved hand, inside of. I dissolve it now. I offer it to you slaughtered like a purveyor of tear gas, gutted like a sustainer of museums. I beg you now, who from the last will be present, anchoring my every tooth, planted in a garden fertilized by the ashes of Columbia, rend my body, bring life to Arabs, bring water to wash my body of blood. I will be wrath of, song of, blade and flame of, tooth and nail of. I will entomb the remnants of a board of directors inside my own heart, your hands, forgiving the debts of rule, translating the missives of scorpions, the homilies of Molotovs, breathing the desiccations of security cameras, you crater of tongue, you loveliness in retribution, tributary of unpriced goods, of fire and ice, of a program to liberate, of the drowning of conquerors, of an endless intifada, you singer of a stone to the skull of a soldier. Here I beg you, with libations of tanks, with offerings of hair, of loss, of the suit of a banker, of boots pried from the feet which carried a corpse to its nest at Columbia. I give you my fears and my hesitancies to cast into the depths, to unlanguage. I beg you, lower me, my heart, the hewn signature of a stone mason. Bring me low, unmake me roughly, silica dust outlining my shape, like an angel, silent in the poisoned air. Steady my rifle, aimed toward the killing of tree planters, the writing of sins, the breathing of earth, the dreaming of children of this, of more. Sing, empty the earth of song to pour into my ventricled weapon. You made with earth and a million stomping feet, what is low in me make sharp, what is hurt in me make sharper, and what is light in me, and what in me is light. An American writes a poem, sells it to a university magazine run by exploited graduate students. A different American sees the poem online and buys the magazine for $22.95. Of this, a small percentage to the university, little to nothing to the graduate students, whose union is fomenting daily and with the certainty of mold. The university courts an endowment from a conservative billionaire. Certainly, says the billionaire, and drafts a quick proposal for an endowed chair of the study of international relations through the lens of finance. The chair will, in the next year, recommend a strong legal and policy response to the growing movement for a popular boycott of Israel, which an undergrad will be surveilled and suspended for supporting. The billionaire files his taxes, paying roughly 0.5% of his declared income. In the night, his teeth grind lightly as cruelty works through his system, like moss. He will wake with no memory of his dreams, which were Artodian, prophetic. The billionaire's taxes go towards the production of this year's slate of U.S. weaponry, and are pocketed by the financiers of major capital, their defense contracts quietly renewed. At a banquet, the financiers begin to vomit, the shellfish revolting. A percentage of this weaponry is bundled into an $800 million arms deal with the State of Israel. A new kind of infringement on life is dreamt up, written down, and revised, to be voted on summarily. The arms deal pays for the restocking of an arsenal depleted during the last escalation of genocide. The arsenal receives a fresh supply, some 10,000 M16A1 rifles, 350 M204 grenade launchers, 200 M250 caliber machine guns, and an assortment of 30 caliber, 50 caliber, and 20 millimeter ammunition, among others whose names have been redacted by the linguists. These weapons are dispersed among the various branches of Israel's occupying forces, who are, as a matter of citizenship, required to take part in the military front of the genocide. A routine settler, once they have fulfilled this requirement, begins to serve on one of the other fronts: ideological, academic, cultural, culinary, linguistic, political, social, economic, and the front of the dreaming. One of the soldiers issued a rifle which fires black sponge rounds, introduced in 2015, heavier and thus more lethal than typical sponge-tipped rounds, which are classified by the occupation forces as non-lethal, despite evidence to the contrary, clambers into his AIL Storm border police jeep, produced by Automotive Industries Limited on a Chrysler license, and scrolls on his phone as the jeep tumbles towards Al-Ram. He sees the poem. He reads its lines to himself silently. They enact something about grief in his first language. He thinks about Brooklyn. He screenshots the poem before clambering out of the jeep to aim at the youths throwing stones, most of which are likely repurposed rubble from bombed buildings, previously understood by some to be homes. Irritated, the soldier fires a black sponge round into a child's chest, which causes massive internal bleeding that will later cause the child, my cousin Muhi, to die. This is the place analysis ends. The soldier will go home and surrender to the dream of militant preservation. He will never think of this day again. I will think of this day constantly, imagining and reimagining the round, hurtling through the wind, as again an American poem just breaks somebody's heart.
Thank you so much, George and Fargo. That was so powerful, and it was also so wonderful to see you both reading together. So thank you for that. If you'd like to read more of George's writing, we have some links to put in the chat, including Twitter, Instagram, a website, and a link to buy their book, Birthright. If you'd like to read more of Fargo Nissim Tbakhi's writing, we also have some social media links and also Fargo's website. You can also see a 70-minute excerpt of Eve, which was performed by Fargo and George at the Arab American National Museum as part of their recent residency, at a YouTube link that we will drop in the chat right now as well. Up next is Diamond Forde. Diamond Forde's debut collection, Mother Body, is the winner of the 2019 Saturnalia Poetry Prize. Forde has received numerous awards and prizes, including a Pink Poetry Prize, a Furious Flower Poetry Prize, CLA's Margaret Walker Poetry Prize, and third place in Frontier Poetry's New Poets Award. A Callaloo and Tin House Fellow, Forde's work has appeared in Boston Review, Honey Literary, Obsidian, Massachusetts Review, and more. She serves as the contributing editor of Southeast Review, the fiction editor of Nat Brute, and she lives in Asheville with her partner and their dog, Oatmeal. Diamond, please take it away.
Hi, my name is Diamond Forde. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a Black woman with close cropped hair, large glasses, and a monochrome pattern dress. I'm in a room with 3 watercolor paintings of jellyfish behind me. I'm currently working on a dissertation project that uses the Bible as the rhetorical framework. I'm exploring maternal lineage. And so when I read poems that mention Alice, that's my grandma. But I also voice characters that have been marginalized in the Good Book. And this is one of them. From the story about Noah and the Great Flood, this is the first book of Alice called Genesis. The sow speaks to Noah. And what should I think of this? Mercy in a near month languishing on a boat gone nowhere, the tusk and musk of livestock, gassy camels, chickens flicking wet flecks of shit, giraffes and they long necks forever knocking somebody flat on they asses. Never mind the sheep bleating all night, and that somebody stay watching me piss, eat, or sleep, reminding me I'm the voice of a generation, as if that should make me humble, as if that might make me forget the only sky you've given me is a puddle snagged on the sharp edge of candlelight. Can't be a journey that takes you from home and never gives you back. Is it a gift that I've survived to send my kids to slaughterhouses? Better home is the mouth of their mother. Yes, I will eat my children before I let their buttocks butter into fat back. Better to gore through the next soft meat, unseed my children, chestnuts rendered free, their spirits you can't digest. And this ain't the last flood, Noah. Your generations drown my kin in white noise daily, but did you know a pig can swim for miles if it gotta? And I breed often, turn my whole ass out to open ocean, kick a tremolo of waves behind my whole brood finna wash this planet. Maidens of mud. When the water done making slop of the earth, will root and raw dung, kick wherever our pink hooves please, outnumber the men who penned us here, feed till our bellies bulge into boulders, be too large for any hold to hook us. The third book of Alice, called Revelations. What I should have said when you asked me if I'd go to grandma's funeral. You tell me I'm selfish. It's true. I'm particular too. Toast my bread on one side, pluck my toenails and my plush down bed, sneeze and shout so loud our small hound slumbers with an eye transfixed on the pollen pilling the sill. And martyrdom, that supposed mechanism of motherhood, won't tick in me. But there's a fig tree feathering behind the old brick building at work, and each fall it droops with newborn fruit, green bulbs purpling like bruises, flush with fresh meat, seeds pink as flagging tongues, and there's a cove cratered beneath the broad leaves, large enough to sit in, to reach for every wine dark drop, eat, cream its custard against my teeth. And isn't it divine to hide behind fig leaves? Or that for each fruit to bloom, a mother dies, a wasp slipping into the fig's snug end, wings clipped in entry, antennae ripped from their stalks, blinded by a need to breed, which is not a metaphor, just an insect giving body for brood, because love is a force greater than grief, and we weren't meant to mother, but I know love found it in the joyful tunes of my own breath in my hands, clapping verbs to thunder in my thighs, singular notes. And maybe if you'd listen, you'd hear it as my grandmother heard it in her last pulse, that thrum, not swan song, but a mulch womb buzzing to fruit. The first book of Alice, called Genesis, poem in which I should write about Cain, but I'm tired of writing about death. So instead, a houseplant, arching a trellis of its own strong stems, elephant ear, colocasia, what my aunt called Alice, ready for the sure mothering of her own mother. She tended Alice with the surgical heed of a woman seeming silver to the sharp ends of the moon. And even when she yelled at us for crawling through the jungle mess of Alice's large leaves, scattered soil so far, she'd find perlite wedged inside the treadmill. Sometimes she'd let me water or cull the gold and ghostly curls of a dying sprout hung like a wrung out washcloth. And in my hands, she saw a potential to dig, to muck deep into the manure of my imagination, to sprout offshoots I'll plant in someone else someday when I am not afraid to think of myself as a god large enough that every heart-shaped leaf dicing light to dust could beat in my own chest. And I've never made a life, but I've reached to the refuse they make of our lives, found hearts hardy as crocus bulbs. And in this poem, I will plant a world for girls where kudzu climbs and is wanted. The third book of Alice, called Revelations, without hunger. In my bedroom in Alabama, A cry bullies the night below my window. So I open my front door for just a peek. Expect to see a stray cat linked to me by porch light. Instead, two coyotes, backs dipping like rowboats over the red waves of a mangled fox. They freeze when they see me. I do too. All our hearts clapped to the back of our throats. I smell hunger as it hackles their cages, but they scatter, and I inch back into my home. Hear the fox thud to the mulch, fur glassy with blood like a pond's bruised rind. I wait for the thump to stop drumming inside me. Promise my gore pit I won't eavesdrop on insatiable gods anymore. But the body can't mumble long without hunger, which is to say, I went out again, gluttoned my eyes on the fresh bones guttered in the yard, and maybe the coyotes scared because of this. My thirst to drink the night of all its dead things, the stars, envious, waiting for someone to mourn them. This is my last poem. Thank you so much. The third book of Alice, called Revelations. I can't write about the ocean without it being about slavery. But what if I want to fuck the ocean? How do we scholar circumatlantic trade and my desire to dip my oyster moist on the saline face of Earth? I'm saying I want to straddle the sea with both hips slapping like rafts, unshackle from kelp's clasp, wrapping my legs, hell to dive without needing to net bones from the sea floor. And sure, maybe this is a queer poem. Maybe the ocean is Mommy Wata and I want to tongue her trenches or hold her swells in my palm small shell. Maybe I want to stew in the primordial brew from which life oozes, but do not read me from the sea slick with afterbirth. This isn't baptism or beast, not communion nor kink. And do not think of ships on the horizon, ghosts in their sails. Instead, consortium of crab scuttling the seabed, or seagrass licking worship from my feet, or the California sheephead, a carnivorous species of fish who isn't afraid to flip a black urchin on its back and see. We both know what I did there. Made metaphor dangerous and recklessly misfit. And this, the thicket of trying to unbramble me into a conceptual sea. See, this poem is about my wish to pound waves in my wet wonder, its ass and ashy knees, my black body, literal and literate and mine, anywhere.
Thank you so much, Diamond. That was incredible. If you'd like to read more of Diamond Forde's writing, you can check out diamondforde.com and also her Twitter, which we will drop in the chat. Our last reader tonight is Nabila Lovelace. Nabila Lovelace is a first-generation Queens-born poet whose people hail from Trinidad and Nigeria. Sons of Achilles, her debut book of poems, is out now through Yes Yes Books. You can currently find them kicking it in Tuscaloosa. Nabila, please take it away.
Y'all, my words, I'm trembling. I am I'm just so grateful to all that conspired for us to be here. I'm so grateful to Noah and Alex and Bobby, to Mona Jean and to Moxie. I'm so incredibly grateful to George and Fargo, your words. Diamond, my sister. This all just felt like so much prayer, and I'm so grateful to y'all. I have 3 poems for y'all. Thank you for being here. I'm just very grateful. This first poem I'm going to read is called Message from the Clismos in the Multiplex on the Ave. The Ave is Jamaica Ave. The Clismos, it's a kind of chair. Message from the Clismos in the Multiplex on the Ave. Recline, bitch. I bring news gooder than Sunday's new loafers. Today, your braids cascade and give the buses something to pump the brakes. Merciful scout, savage edges. Trumpets take up full course meals for you. Oxen outdated in their ending participle. Oxtails by the boiling pot. Luxury evolves. Basic from chairs to couches, but seams are poking and prodding for the inner rot. Part of the frame liable to termite engorgement. What was made from hack goes back to hack. The kindness of trees is ticking. Their sweet is for them. All right. So this next poem is called, it's named after DMX's album, and definitely in thinking about him. It's named after DMX's album called It's Dark and Hell is Hot. It's dark and hell is hot. The first sky built itself, was its own stretched tent that God knew to leave well enough alone. No one called it dark. God walked with no direction until the first sneeze lit a flash against what was ordinary. Then a sun became law. So much sun, God liked to smile with one hand up like an eyebrow's awning as the other grazed God's first poked out hip. Attitude was the inaugural fire. Fire begat cigs. The first smoke was a break in villainous character under spotlight. When God thought to put a bottom in space, out rolled a floor. And there's been no way up ever since. Okay, so this last poem that I'm reading for y'all is heavily inspired by Sojourner Truth, who said when remarked on her leaving and taking her freedom, when remarked that she left at night, she said, "I did not run away at night. I walked away by daylight." And so this poem is called Sojourned. Thank you, y'all, again. Sojourned. The hour I ran out on my bondage, I didn't run. The sun was shining in its Sunday's best, beating its coat on my coat. This heat produced my sweat, not swift feet. My haircut new, and my hat wore ribbons fit a church front row. A day so ordinary, who could guess what I walked away from? How could I be anyone but me with my name in my teeth? My feet gliding past each detective lowered brim, the bounty on my head higher than hawk circles. The night I walked out on my master is when I learned I was serving one. The same molar chiding my cheeks, a mole encouraging silence. My first spy, the dream in my brain, entrenching ownership. I spent 12,000 treks thinking my moves were my own until I found road stretching out of a forest I hadn't even seen grow. When I arrived at the brush and flatland, I knew where I had not been mine, but a life from my first love, the first who gave my selfness a ceiling. How could I have not chosen my maker before choosing myself? The night I walked out on my master wasn't night at all. Freedom made the day ordinary in a new way. How for a fish, water is never new, just a change between bodies. But if a child exits my carriage, gravity is law and down becomes a direction. The first time my feet touched floor, I learned the bottom. After I took my legs and forged a path between a past and Jupiter. Now time can't touch me and I'm where water is always fresh, though it pains like we do, where pine trees grow with no hunting season is where I am headed. A compass with no map is the stars. Find your way. If I told you the address, it wouldn't be a secret. Thank you, y'all.
Thank you so much, Nabila. That was a wonderful way to end an amazing evening. So great to hear your work. You can find more of Nabila's work online. We will post some links in the chat. And I want to say one final big thank you to all of tonight's readers. Thank you also to our captioner and our ASL interpreters. And a big, big thank you to all of you for watching tonight's reading.